When a child is born, parents often create what is called a memory box, something that they can look back on and remember the day. When a child is born still, parents are still encouraged to do the same thing. As the years go on, this memory box has become more to me. It's almost like it's an evidence, like it's proof that he was here, that he existed, and that nightmare did happen. What these boxes allow us to do is to feel all that again when we are ready to feel it. It allows you to go through their belongings, and it provides a sense of clarity, a sense of closeness. A lot of times parents of these tragedies come home with their empty car seats and just this box, which is then placed under the bed, in the closet, on the top shelf, and there it's going to sit. It's just the fact that it's close by that provides a sense of comfort. It's out of sight, but it's never out of mind. Other people choose to get it out on special occasions like the child's birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day. But as time goes on, I want to bring it out more than I actually bring it out. And as I look through his box now, I think I want to share this with people. I understand that the box was meant for me, for us, and it's personal, but I'm never going to sit down with him and look through the box with him. And maybe by sharing this publicly, he can do more good and his memory can go farther. Because that is all any lost parent can ask for, is that their child is never forgotten. So I decided to create this hashtag #ShareYourBox2020. And by sharing it publicly, I hope to give a face to stillbirth by showing these real objects that belong to real babies. We can show this real issue that babies are never opening their eyes or taking their first breath. I am just one of 160 pregnancies. Leo was one in 71 children that were born still that day. 70 children is the size of a school bus. A school bus of children are dying every day in just the United States. And those families of those children have boxes just like mine. And I'd like to share my box with you. And I'm asking you to do the same thing. I know that there will be a lot of people who have lost children and are not ready to share their box publicly. It is hard, it is scary, and I understand. But even if this video just encourages you to get it out on just a random day just because you want to feel close to them, I'll be happy. And if you've never experienced a tragedy like this before and you think you shouldn't be watching this video or commenting on it, I want you to continue to watch this video. I want you to listen and to learn. Because if you have children or if you ever want children, I know that this is your greatest fear that has happened to me. So let us face our fear and make what is unknown known and stop stillborn. I have a son who will not be unknown, and this is his box. You will notice that there is a wide range of items that can go in these boxes. I'm sure every single lost parent wishes they had more in these boxes. There are items that I regret not taking or not even thinking about. I didn't think that he didn't get a hospital bracelet. Why didn't I ask about that? I didn't keep my hospital bracelet that got thrown away in some hotel room. I couldn't go home after the birth. It was just too hard. So I stayed in a hotel room for a couple of days, and I just needed that thing off my wrist. The items that I did keep might seem random, but anything associated with this pregnancy just went up in value to me. I did put things from his nursery, from doctor's visits, odds and ends that I think just belonged to Leo and I wasn't going to pass down to anyone else. So I'm going to start with some of the more easier things. The calendar from that year. My son's middle name was Vincent, after Van Gogh, so we thought it was appropriate to have this calendar. And it's funny to look back and see, I was working in the beginning of the pregnancy, which didn't quickly stop, but I did stop working because it became very difficult. And it's nice to look back and see what all I did that year, when the sonogram dates were. So that's his calendar of the year. I kept notebooks. I didn't keep a journal, but like this one has all my questions for the pediatrician. It's when I was trying to look for a pediatrician to have. This one, it was a very, a lot of things happened in the pregnancy, and I wanted to remember it while I was pregnant. What doctors I was seeing, what they were saying, taking notes on what they said. So that's all this. I kept a business card from the Children's Hospital. My husband worked at a very thoughtful thing. They donated, or they bought, or they named a star after my son. And they put it near the Leo constellation, which is very thoughtful. And this is some of the paperwork associated with that gift. And that was really sweet and nice of them to do. From his baby shower, we kept all the cards. They were actually hanging up in his nursery. A lot of them have really sweet notes in them. Also from the nursery, his theme was Peter Rabbit. So how I came up with the theme Peter Rabbit is not because of the film that came out that year. It was just a weird coincidence. I've had Peter Rabbit picked out for my first child for a long time. My grandpa, who passed away 6 years before Leo was even a thought in my mind, my grandpa gave us grandkids these water prints of all the characters. And I thought, what a special way to like connect my son to his grandpa. Not realizing that my grandpa and my son would be together a lot sooner. Along those lines, I have a very wonderful friend who is an excellent painter, and she painted me something for his nursery. And it says Mama there. So sweet and beautiful. I wish I could hang this because it doesn't belong in a bag, in a box, but I just can't hang it. I don't know where to put it, and it's just... But it is so beautiful, and I really appreciate the woman who made this for me. Speaking about wonderful women, my sister-in-law, who's another really good painter, painted these really cool letters. with the characters on it. And this is something so special to me and so hard that I want to use his stuff so bad. It's so cool. We spent so long designing and picking things out. But that's his theme. Another gift he got was this blanket. Now, Leo got a lot of blankets, and a lot of them became hand-me-downs to our next children. But this one was special just because, not only because the person who gave it to us is one of my best friends, but it has a little lion on it. And Leo, lion, it became very synonymous. Anytime I see a lion, I automatically think of him. My husband has a tattoo memorializing him on his arm of lions. So this blanket is only Leo's blanket. Another big thing that I think is in a lot of people's memory boxes, and I think any pregnant woman should get more of, are the ultrasounds. This is Leo's ultrasound when we found out he was a boy. And I'm weirdly thankful I had a high-risk pregnancy, even though the word stillborn was never mentioned to me. I had no idea this could happen. Because I was high risk, I got a lot of ultrasounds, and I'm so thankful for that, because these are the only real pictures I have of him alive. I mean, this sweet little face. Look how chubby he was. The ultrasounds technicians always said that he was so cute. And in my mind, I'm thinking, ultrasound technicians are going to say that to every pregnant woman. And I asked one time, do you say that to all the pregnant ladies? And she's like, nope, some of them aren't cute. But he was. He's just a chunky little monkey with a button nose and these cute little puckered lips. Those are just a couple of his ultrasounds. Christmas that year. So he was born in January. The Christmas before, we did Pollyannas. And the thing with my family and Pollyannas that year was that it had to be homemade. And my aunt had my husband that year. And she made us, well, him, this really cool shirt. Now, my husband is not this big. Not by any means. But when I'm pregnant, I'm this big. So I wore this my entire pregnancy because this material is so soft and stretchy. So I wore Leo's daddy a lot. My son had a lot of hand-me-down clothes as well from his cousins. And so we didn't have to buy much for him. But one thing we did buy was his take-home outfit. And it's January, and we live in Pennsylvania, so it was snowing. So he was going to come home in this cute little moose onesie outfit thing. He never wore it. We actually didn't put any clothes on him that we brought. We didn't know you could put clothes on him. We didn't think to ask. So he stayed naked the entire time we had him. And besides for the blankets that he was wrapped up in and the hat he wore. But this is what he would have worn. We kept the newspaper. This newspaper isn't from the day he was born. This newspaper is the one that has his obituary in it. The folder from the funeral home that has all the bills in it, from the funeral home bill, the cremation bill. A lot of things were heavily discounted, but it's definitely an expense that we weren't planning on. And thankfully, I have a very wonderful family who came together when we needed it to. Them too. The folder also has his birth certificate. Or sorry, he didn't get a birth certificate. This is his death certificate, which bothers me in so many different ways I can't even explain, because everything is just listed as unknown for everything. A whole bunch of paperwork came with it. It also has the prayer card from his memorial service and the event card from his memorial service. I have in here the folder a picture of me pregnant. On my wedding anniversary, we took that picture. And the funeral home laminated his obituary that my mom wrote, which was very nice. So that's all like the heavy duty paperwork kept in one spot. The funeral home also made us a candle with his name on it and the date he was born, January 29th, 2018. I burn this every year on October 15th, which is Light the Night in honor of Leo, to bring awareness to stillborn. Okay, now we're going to get into the day of the hospital things I kept. I'm very grateful to the organization Now You Lay Me Down to Sleep. It is a group of photographers, professional photographers, who come into your hospital room and take professional pictures of you and your child for free, and they edit them, and that was a wonderful thing. That my poor photographer, I hounded her. She's doing this for free, and I'm emailing her 2 weeks after saying, did you edit them? I want to see them. Can I have them? I was so desperate to get these. I'm not going to go through all the pictures, but just so you can see. See, look at all that hair. I didn't know you could cut. I didn't even think you could cut a lock of the hair off, and that might sound creepy to some of you, but I wish I would have kept that. My children after him did not have a full head of hair like Leo has, a full head of black hair. All the pictures were in black and white that she took. It's just a common courtesy thing. So I'm grateful that my mom, who was there for the birth, took pictures on her phone, and I got them printed, so we have colored pictures. And if you notice, every single picture, he's wrapped in this blanket. This blanket doesn't stay in the box. This blanket is out. I slept with this blanket for the first couple months, and every morning I woke up terrified that I destroyed, threw on the floor, or ripped this blanket, but I needed it to fall asleep. But it sits over his urn now to kind of keep it warm, I guess. But we did not buy this blanket. This blanket was made from, in my mind, these cute little old women from a church who donated it to the hospital, because the hospital wrapped them in this blanket. The organization that gave us the box that had a lot of mementos in it. Another wonderful organization is the Still Remembered Project. They gave us a frame. The frame is not the best quality at all. It is, but it's still sentimental. And as you saw, I could have put a Now You Lay Me Down photo in the picture frame. I didn't. I put an ultrasound picture in it. And I chose this particular ultrasound picture. This is the last ultrasound I had at 38 weeks and 4 days. This was probably 3-4 days before I gave birth. And he was alive and kicking. And that's why this is the last picture I have of him alive. So I decided to frame his ultrasound picture. This is also not kept in his box. This is kept in our dining room with all of our kids' pictures. It's very common practice, I feel like, to give out bears. This bear that they gave us in the box, Leo never even touched it or was near him or took any pictures with it, but it was in the box. And I guess the blue ribbon signifies he was a boy. Stuffed animal that did matter, though, was this little guy. Like I said, Peter Rabbit came out that year on film. And we took a tour of the hospital of where we would give birth and all that stuff. And we went through the gift shop, and there was this little guy sitting there, and my husband looks at it, and he says, I'm going to buy that. The day he's born, I'm going to come down these stairs, buy this little guy, and give it to our son. Well, the day came where I was to be induced, and we found out what happened, and shortly after that, Leah was born, and my husband did go down the stairs and did what he said he was going to do. He bought this little guy that day and gave it to him. Another very powerful thing with memories is the scent. Every time I open this box, you get hit with this smell, and I cannot for the life of me tell you what this smell is of. I guess I could read it, but I don't think it says. My son was rubbed in an oil when he was born, and this is the bottle they used on him. And then I stole another bottle. I don't know why, because I'm never going to open or use these bottles of oil at all, but this smell permeates the whole box, and every time I open it, I smell it, and it brings me right back to that moment, that time. It's one like, it's not the item, it's not the bottle, or it's not the oil, it's that smell. That is so powerful. And they gave me this candle. They told me that this candle is the smell of the oil. I will never burn this candle, but I'm going to take their word for it that this is the smell of the oil. In the boxes they give you too, you get the wristbands. This one says Daddy's Little Angel. This one's the Still Remembered Project. A lot of times nurses or staff members or photographers, they don't go through the box that you get if you are lucky enough to get a box to help you with mementos. They don't go through it. So like a lot of these things we didn't use. Like someone actually made a bracelet and found out his name and they put it on there, and he didn't wear it because I didn't know it was in here. One that he did wear, they normally make an adult size and a baby size. So this is the adult size, and Leo is wearing the mini version in some of his pictures. So I never wear it because it's not the most well made, so I'm terrified that it will break, so it stays in the box. So I have the one that he wore in a, you'll see. I do have that one too. So most of that we got from Still Remembered. Another company that was really special to us was Emma's Footprints. They gave a lot of stuff. This is the last box. It's small. but it is the hardest that's gonna to get through. So the day I had Leo, there was a woman in the room next to mine who was also having a stillborn. She was actually at her gender reveal party, and she found out I was next door to her, and she actually spent the time and wrote me a lovely note, basically just talking about how our babies are together now, and she gave me her contact information. I did end up contacting her afterwards. We just ended up not being on the same grief path. It didn't connect too much after the first 2 contacts of just checking in and seeing where we were. But in the moment that day, it was so lovely of her. And she had such a way with words that it really just, it helped, I guess. Like anything could help, but it helped. What I love about this is something all babies get, and I wish that every stillborn was treated just like any other baby born. But so they did do footprints for me. These are the only footprints I have. I don't have any handprints, but I do have footprints, and look how big his feet were. I mean, this is a newborn, and his feet were huge. They barely fit in the boxes. You can see he was 9 pounds, 6 ounces. He was a very, very big baby. He was 21 3/4 inches long. He was born at 7:42 p.m. The one thing they didn't fill in was his name, which is very upsetting that days later, when I finally got the courage to look through this stuff, this was blank, and I ended up having to fill in his name for him. No doctor, no nurses took it upon themselves to ask and write it down. Inside this, the nurses, at least my favorite nurses, wrote me notes. There's 3 nurses on there. I had a 10-hour labor plus some in the beginning and the afterwards, and only 3 of the nurses wrote me notes. But those 3 nurses have a special place in my heart. They were God sent. So I'm happy that they wrote notes to me. I have his measurement tape. He was a big baby. After 10 hours of labor, they placed this huge bundle of joy in my arms, and I could barely hold him. I was so tired and exhausted, and he was just so heavy. We didn't get that long with him of time to say goodbye, but I mean, it's really not fair when you think about it. I went through all this work, and then I get so little with him. The hardest thing that I will show, and it will be the last thing I show, is kept in this sealed bag for a good reason. 2 things. One I mentioned earlier, his little bracelet. This is the one that he wore. And the last thing I have, and it's the most powerful thing I owned, is a hat they put on his head. It might seem a little gruesome. It has stains on it, because they put it on his head directly after he was born. They put it on him, and I think that's why it matters so much, because it is stained with the memories. So, and I like that we keep it in the bag. It has all the scents still wrapped up inside of it. It's preserved. So that is Leo's box. The reason I chose to do the box instead of the birth story is because, one, that would be a really long video, even longer than this one, if I told you my entire birth story of everything that happened. And I'd have a fear of leaving something out if I did the birth story. And the other reason is that I feel like with these items, there's a lot of happy moments from my pregnancy tied to them. I know I ended it crying, but I hope I smiled throughout some of it, where you see me remember a memory with me and him pregnant, and it was a happy time. Again, I want to thank you if you watched the entire thing, and I hoped you learned more about Leo and you thought about stillbirth, and if you want to learn how to help, what it is further, how you can get involved, I encourage you to go to Star Legacy Foundation. There they do research on what causes stillborns. 2/3 of stillborns are unknown. We have no reason. We don't know why it happens. It just happens, which is crazy when you think about how many people this affects. So they do research. So funding them, I think, is so important. They also do grief support as well, helping the families on their path of their grief stories. So if you can share your box and help bring awareness, please do so with the hashtag ShareYourBox2020. If you can't share it publicly, do it on your own and comment that you did and how it made you feel. If you haven't experienced this tragedy but you know someone who has, share it. Maybe they can do a video like this as well. But the more people who know about this, the better, because I want it to stop. I never want a family to feel the pain that I felt. But I'm happy I have his box. I have all my children's boxes, and I'm grateful that one day I can go through the boxes with my children and I can show them their big brother's box.